Mindfulness. This is an emerging domain in the organizational behavior. Mindfulness is a way of being present, paying attention to, and analyzing what is happening in our organization. It helps us to be aware of and step away from our automatic and habitual reactions to our everyday experiences. This talk, we will discuss the practice of mindfulness in organizations. We describe growing interest in mindfulness training among organizations and discuss possible reasons for this development. We then review work on the definition and concept of mindfulness as they have been developed in psychology and organizational scholarship. The second section, we will discuss different types of mindfulness practices in organization. So now we can say that the study and application of mindfulness in the workplace offers many promising directions. However, much more research is needed to create a basis of evidence for the successful mindfulness training programs and the productivity and the behavior of the organization. Furthermore, a deeper understanding of the consequences, meditating mechanisms, moderating factors, and boundary conditions of mindfulness would benefit organizational behavior and organizational scholarship. We look at the different forms of mindfulness practices related to work. This includes a description of mindfulness based stress reduction, the most widely established and researched form of training. Next, we review empirical findings regarding the role of mindfulness in organizations. There is a steady crescendo of interest from organizational practitioners in using mindfulness to address workplace challenges. This has even led some people to speak that mindfulness revolution in the business world. This is quite a lot widely discussed concept that mindfulness in the organizations, it's a mindful revolution in bringing the organizational behavior into a positive way. May not be happening globally. An increasing number of companies, including some of the most eminent organizations in the world, Google, Apple, General Mills, McKinsey Consulting, they are working with mindfulness. Mindfulness practice appears to be percolating through the business world as a method of enhancing the well being and performance of people in the managerial sectors, particularly in high stress professional environments and organizational leadership. Mindfulness practices extend further into a myriad of other areas, including several healing, caregiving, law enforcement, and whatnot, including educational and personal development, specifically organizational behavior and the organizational development. Organizations, while mindfulness have always provided certain benefits relevant to work, one could argue that current characteristics of work contain features that make mindfulness a particularly attractive proposition to organizations. Much modern work takes place in a changing and competitive environment, characterized by long hours, sometimes during periods that were traditionally meant for rest, such as evenings, that are likely to leave employees exposed to stress, exhaustion, and burnout. The current corporate environment perpetuates the plugged in nature of modern society, where constant availability has become a defining characteristic of how we work. This degree of accessibility has bred a culture of expectation for immediate responses and blurred the already fuzzy lines between work and home life. The balance between work and home lives makes harmony brings harmony in the minds of the executives, workforce of an organization, and create an intensive, good atmosphere in the functioning of an organization. For many, knowledge intensive jobs, in particular, problems of information and attention overload have been increasing. Technological platforms today have enhanced operations and in many ways enabled greater forms of efficiency through this mindfulness practice. Definitions rooted in contemplative traditions, the term mindfulness has been defined and operationalized in a variety of different ways, with unfortunate consequences that it is often not clear what exactly is meant when someone speaks of mindfulness. Therefore, we have to take more inclusive view of mindfulness as presented and try to specify the aspect of the component of mindfulness where it can be identified. Perhaps the most widely known definition of mindfulness is the scientific literature. They say paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment and non judgmentally. Once again, I reiterate paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment and non judgmentally. This definition includes three components: intention, attention, and attitude. These three factors are very, very important. Observing, describing, acting with awareness, non judgment of inner experience, and non reactivity to an inner experience, upon which they based their facet of mindfulness questionnaire and they have experimented. The structure of the mindfulness can be compartmentalized across the main divisions: being fully aware of the present moment, being fully aware of the present moment, the quality of awareness, and the attitude of the observer. Here, the observer has himself an attitude. He may be observing from the angle of his own attitude, which is incorrect because non judgmentally, unbiasedly, an observer has to observe the movement of the organization in mindfulness practice. Being mindless can be defined as neither paying attention to nor having awareness of the activities one is engaged or the internal states and processes one is experiencing. Being mindlessness will produce negative effects. Hence, mindfulness is the form of a thought, form of a thinking process which will give including performing tasks on autopilot, daydreaming like that will be avoided. The present form of living in the present, which could manifest as delusion, impulsiveness, hedonism, and fatalism. Between the quantity and quality of attention is poignant. Awareness refers to the conscious observation of the contents of the mind. Once again, I repeat it because this is very, very important in this topic. Awareness refers to the conscious observation of the contents of the mind. Within the reach of mindfulness has also been conceptualized as a trait. Within this research, mindfulness has also been conceptual as a trait because the commitment to consciously accept thoughts without assessing them is what MBSR refers to as the open attitude. One theory for the effectiveness of mindfulness practice as means of treating stress and anxiety is ability to circumvent cognitive distortions that are easily and often unconsciously indulged by eliminating judgment from the thoughts and emotions. The more aware the organization is of their present situation and potential threats, the more mindful the organization. This is the crux of our talk. Once again, I will remind you, the more aware the organization is of their present situation and potential threats, the more mindful the organization is. More specifically, organizational mindfulness can be deconstructed along several mechanisms. The argument has been that organizational mindfulness helps and may even be essential for such organizations to perform with high reliability. In contrast, organizational mindfulness, mindful organizing has been argued to be a dynamic social process depicted by ongoing actions rather than a stable characteristic. It is conceptualized as a bottom up process that aggregates the behaviors of organizational members from context retrieved from the front line. If an emergency response unit cohesively reacts to the call signal with a homogeneous process, they would show high levels of mindful organizing. Along these lines, mindful organizing is more likely to develop throughout the work group of the organization. The benefits of mindful organizing are purported to have strategic and operational benefits by embedding feedback loops and communication channels between frontline employees and leadership to refine organizational processes. This is a wonderful word and important word, to refine organizational processes with all mindfulness. Finally, within the context of organizational research on mindfulness, the questions as to related constructs has received some attention. For example, mindfulness has been distinguished from absorption and flow. Absorption describes a state where the individual is deeply attentive to and engaged with their present task, activity, or role. But unlike mindfulness, in a state of absorption, individuals block out inputs that are not central to the immediate activity. Flow refers to a high level of engagement in an optimally challenging activity that produces intense concentration and strong feeling of control. I repeat, challenging activity that produces intense concentration and strong feeling of control. In a state of flow, individuals no longer perceive themselves as being distinct from the activity, thus, unlike mindfulness, where they remain aware of the wider environment, he or she will be unlikely to pursue external stimuli unrelated to the task and at hand. Mindfulness is awareness without criticism or judgment. Mindfulness is a way of befriending ourselves and our experience. Hence, mindfulness is continuously an emerging domain in the study of organizational behavior and preparing organization for a very conceptualized way, developing a good trait of mindfulness among top to bottom in the hierarchy of the organization. In order to discuss the mindful organization, mindfulness will develop psychologically and organizational scholarship. Psychological development in the organization and practicing organizations with all mindfulness will reduce the stress reduction, will reduce the stress in a very, very prominent way and improve the organization into the to reach the objectives and commanding heights. Thank you.